right, we got Nick's new machine here. How long have you had this machine, Nick?
We've been building it for several months, but it's just been finished about a month and a half, about 2 months, now. This is the gyroplane that we're going to use to visit dealers and owners around the country. And it's designed to fly VFR flight following, which is a smaller version of IFR instrument flying, but it's done under VFR conditions. Right now, there's no provision for a gyroplane to fly under instrument conditions, so we're doing the best we can. And what I've done is I've set the gyroplane up so that I can fly into airports that I'm unfamiliar with at night and be able to safely navigate into the airport by avoiding obstacles. I have the iFly, which is my primary navigation, which will take me from one airport to another. I have an identical iFly in the back that if I'm teaching a student or something, I can see exactly what the student should be seeing and give them guidance on what they should do. In the back, I have an airspeed indicator over here. I have an altimeter, and I also have a vertical speed indicator with this instrumentation. I have trim from the rear. I have a kill switch. If there's an emergency on the ground or something, I can just hit that switch and it'll kill it, so that I can override the student really quickly. I have a throttle and I have a handbrake back here. I have a stick or a cyclic with a push-to-talk switch, so I can talk on the radio. And then I have a power outlet, and this is where I plug my helmet into. When I travel, I use this kit bag, which is seat belted in through the straps, and it's got a safety strap that goes around the stainless steel mask, as additional security. But this way it doesn't interfere with anything. And I keep a spare helmet in here, and if I need to, I can keep clothes or other. It's just a kit bag that comes out very easily, and then I can either put a student in the back or I can sit in the back if I'm teaching. So let's go back up to the front cockpit again. So if I were coming into Zephyrhills, which is where we are right now, and I was not familiar with Zephyrhills and where the obstacles are placed, I would fly the Zephyrhills RNAV GPS approach using my iFly GPS up here, which is geo-reference. And if you'll see, that's another aircraft, and that aircraft is moving, and it has the altitude, and it will tell me exactly what my traffic is. That's hooked up to an eye-level iFly, which is underneath there, but they're talking to one another. So I have traffic, and I have AHARS, and it's both for the front and the back iFly. Back to the iPad, I use iPad for flight, and if I follow this approach as if I were flying an IFR instrument approach, even though I can only legally fly in VFR and only fly in VFR, but I can use the approach and avoid any obstacles around here. See, that's a 726-foot tower right there. And if I was not familiar with Zephyrhills and I'm coming in at night, I may miss that blinking light on a really dark night, but I won't miss it here. And if you'll see, the aircraft is geo-referenced, so if I stay on the approach and fly the runway 5 heading and stay at the altitudes as if I were flying an instrument approach, I'm going to avoid the obstacle. Now, this doesn't allow me to fly in fog or instrument meteorological conditions, IMC. It just allows me to fly in VFR, and as if I was an instrument pilot, avoid running into anything. So that's why it's set up. So the goal of this aircraft is fly around the country and visit our dealers and our owners, and to be able to fly in airports that I'm not familiar with and do so safely. Up front, I have a AVO Hercules 30 light. And this light is incredibly bright, and it lights up the runway, both the down the runway and the periphery. We took the taxi function and the landing light and we wired them together, so I have a wide pattern and a long pattern. So if I'm flying at an unfamiliar airport and there happen to be deer on the side, or turtles, or coyote, or anything like that, then I'll be able to see it and then just do a missed approach. Well, in VFR we'd call that a go around, but effectively I would not land. I'd go around and validate a safe runway before I landed.
Now, what about this?
Okay, this is a timer that sometimes I will use to time a leg, which is a backup for fuel. If I need to know what how much fuel I have, I know I've been flying for an hour and a half or 2 hours or something like that. It's also a clock that goes to Zulu time, which is the time that I use when I talk to air traffic control, because I'm flying VFR flight following. So I'm talking to either approach, departure, or center from one airport to another when I'm doing these long cross countries. I have an aviation radio over here. This is for the rotor speed. This is important on pre-rotation, everything, when I'm taking off. After you take off, I don't really pay attention to it anymore, because the rotor is going to turn whatever speed it's going to turn based on how much I'm loading it, whether I'm in a turn or a cruise. This is my manifold pressure. I pay attention to that. This is my RPM. I pay attention to that. Of course, I pay attention to my altitude. Mostly I use the Garmin G5 experimental, which has altitude built into it over here. It has the airspeed built into it over there. That's my maneuvering speed, my best rate of climb, my best angle of climb, and my rotation speed. Those are all in knots over there. This is what I adjust the altimeter setting based on barometric pressure. And of course, you've got your yaw ball, which is like an airplane. What we use here is we use this little flag up front. But the American Ranger AR1 is so stable and has so much rudder authority that we really don't have to use the rudder that much when we fly, if at all. This is a very forgiving aircraft. It's very docile for landing. It's forgiving for hard landings. It's probably the best one out of many gyroplanes that I've flown. And I started flying at Benson in 1982 in terms of easy, forgiving, docile to learn on and to fly. And of course that makes for a more comfortable, stable flight when you're going cross country.
Now, Nick, how long before you have a canopy on this one? Because I know they got the design going for that, right?
Abid will be here. Abid is the company owner and president, and he will know more about those timelines than I do. My job is principally sales and training. And the bag's over there, and then I have a carbon monoxide sensor, and the carbon monoxide sensor is for when I have the canopy on it. And because what we'll be doing is we'll bring the heat off the engine sensor on it so that an exhaust leak doesn't put me to sleep and kill me. So, but that's some people at the show asked what that was for, because it didn't make sense in an open cockpit, but when I have a closed cockpit. And this is an industrial sensor that they use in the mining industry, and they just turn it on all day long, and it just works fine.
What kind of fuel? What kind of? Do you have the standard tanks for this for the American
Yeah, we
Ranger?
have the standard 17-gallon tank, which comes with all our American Rangers, which is plenty of fuel. We're either 914 or the 912 ULS.
And you have the 914.
I do, because it's designed for high altitude. We have dealers in Colorado, and what this will do with the turbo, it'll give us the performance at high altitudes that a 912 will not. Okay, you can't see it because of the distance, but we have an 8.8 rotor, which is the longest rotor that we offer, and that's for when we're going, to the higher altitudes, like in Colorado, where we get that extra bit of lift that we don't get in the 8.6 meter rotor. So this is 8.8 meters. It's distinguished from the 8.6. It's a little bit more, but it's material when you're at the higher altitudes. At the lower altitude, just gets you a softer, more delicate, gentle landing. To power the light is I have two EarthX 36 amp lights or batteries to power the Hercules 30 light. That's a total of 72 amps to keep that light on, and the two electric fuel pumps on, and not have to worry about it. So I can fly in a pattern, an extended pattern, without worrying about battery drain. So this has equivalent of 72 amps if you add them both up together. They're wired in parallel, as distinguished from series. So you have 72 amps, which is well over excessive amperage for a gyroplane, but it builds in an incredible safety factor when I'm illuminating